This is Vietnam. Vietnam's from here to there. That was a tough war there. A lot of guys lost their lives, and I don't think we're all still for sure why today. I grew up in military. Yeah, my father was a fighter pilot. He flew the F-105 in 2 tours in Vietnam. And so I lived on Air Force bases all my life up till 18. So I always had a love. I learned to draw by drawing airplanes. And here we got us a guy, you know, our typical Marine. He got his camouflage on, his Lucky Strikes and his headband there. You know, he's got that stare, that 1,000-yard stare. The guys went through a lot of trauma in there. I put an eagle in there as well, and I got the F-105 dropping some napalm, you know, as you can see back in here. I also hid images of eagles all throughout. There's actually an eagle in here, very tiny. I hid them all over the place. I'd tell you how many there are, but I'm not gonna. You'll have to find them yourself. In this particular scene, and why I did it the way I did, that was when the helicopter war. That was Vietnam, was the helicopter war. Our troops were carried in, helicopters loaded up, taken out. You know, the air cav. It was just those Huey pilots. They had some cojones, I'll tell you that much. You know, we got one right behind us here, which is cool. That's the UH-1H. It's actually called the Iroquois, but, you know, no one calls it that. It's a Huey, you know, and everybody knew it as that. But our soldiers on the ground depended on those helicopters for life and death, you know. But, of course, this war, to me, means a lot because I was living it. As my father was there, you know, I saw the results of it. I saw them on a daily basis, so that's why that was important to me. I also put the presidents of that war area in here. Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon. I think they have to bear a lot of responsibility of what was done there. Now, what we're looking at here is the first Gulf War. You know, this is where we learned our lessons from Vietnam. You know, we got all the high-tech equipment. Here we have the guys in the chemical suits, which is one of the first times, you know, we had the fear of a chemical war coming back like it did in World War I. Also, we've got our, you know, Marines, the M1 tank coming in. But if you look into the oil fires here, there's actually an image of President Bush talking to some of the troops that I kind of blended into the smoke. This was the A-10 here, which had been around for some time, basically stationed in Europe as an anti-tank weapon to fight the Soviets, of course, which never had to happen. They were at the point of retiring this plane at the time of this Gulf War. Well, they put it into service, and it did some kicking, you know. It really spanked the Iraqi tanks, and so gave that plane an extended life, and which is why it's still flying around today. Well, and so this is the A-10, the Warthog. It was a workhorse, a tank killer, and it really did its job in the Gulf War. It's an awesome plane. It could carry a massive load of ordnance on that plane. Literally, they built that plane around a gun, a 30-millimeter cannon that's just about half the length inside the body of that plane that sticks out the front. And then the last and final thing in this war that I really wanted to emphasize was the EOD guys. So these guys really have their work cut out for us. And of course I put the image of the eagle spreading his wings right behind that guy with the sun overlooking him, just to, you know, we're all behind him, you know, type of a thing. That's kind of the rest of us, you know. I guess that's what those eagles are that I throw throughout there. Well, on this car, the things that make me the most emotional, first of all, is the trunk lid, the Arlington Cemetery.
He talks about actually painting that and feeling the presence of so many soldiers, both men and women, who paid the ultimate price so that not only we Americans could have freedom, but all these other countries that we've gone to defend.
This piece here was never discussed with anybody at General Motors. It was kind of something I just took to do myself, you know, and I didn't know how it would be accepted, but this is kind of the final piece, the culmination of it all, that we hope kind of brings some kind of solace to, you know, those families and stuff of men and women that have died in service of our country. You know, obviously this soldier is just arriving in Arlington, but it's still in more the solid, you know, the here and there, and he's being greeted by obviously soldiers of the past, you know, kind of the brotherhood of the fallen. A Revolutionary War guy here, Civil War guy over here, World War I, and a Vietnam or World War II era kind of cat in there, but and then a modern warrior who's obviously arrived. But the names here, this was from the photograph of Arlington, so I took one of these foreground ones here and wrote what I could see as the actual. This guy was served in World War I, balloon company, and he was from Virginia, born in 1893 and died in 1917. So Raymond B. Smith. And we just feel that it gives, you know, I guess those that are still alive that have lost loved ones hopefully a sense of warmth and well-being, that their loved one might be, you know, within that group of brethren in arms. This car, you know, you're only as good as your last piece, I guess, you know. And if I died tomorrow, I feel like I would have set a nice little legacy, maybe, you know. It was kind of my Sistine Chapel at this point, you know. It's I was actually overwhelmed at how beautiful it was.
I had seen pictures of it as they were working on it, and they delivered it to us, and when I opened the door of the truck, I was not prepared for what I saw. It absolutely blew me away.
It's America's car now, you know, and I think GM figured that out too, that once they showed it for the first time, all of a sudden it took on another life and a life of its own.
So what we really want to do is we would love to send it to military bases. We want to get it out and show it to the public because it really is a history lesson.
What it says, pride, you know, American pride. You know, that we're proud of those people that have given and sacrificed, whether they died or whether they're still alive. They all sacrificed and did something to serve this country.
And I want people to walk away with a pride. And then most of all, I want people to walk away and realize that so many people gave so much so that we have the freedoms we do today. And when you look at this car, it's emotional. I watch any number of people, young and old, come up to the car, and there's a reverence as they start to look at it, and that's when the tears start to flow.
I've been doing this professionally for 34 years, and I got to tell you, never have I had such a wonderful time painting a vehicle than doing this particular car. GM did their job good designing this car. It was a real pleasure. It's a heck of a piece of canvas to work on. I couldn't be prouder of any automobile I've done.